At 49 years old, when most artists are looking back at their past careers, one woman did the absolute impossible. She returned to conquer the World Cup stage for a record-breaking fourth time, sealing a historic legacy that no other musician in history has ever touched. Think about the absolute biggest pop icons on earth, legends who sell out stadiums instantly. Yet none of them have ever truly dominated football's greatest tournament across 20 long years like she just did. But here is the most shocking part. The voice that just united billions of football fans was once officially banned from a tiny school choir because her music teacher told her she sang like a goat. How did a rejected 10-year-old girl achieve what the world's greatest superstars could only dream of? Stay with me until the end, because the secret behind Shakira's historic comeback will completely change how a 49-year-old woman completely dominated global football culture. You have to travel back to 1987. Inside a small, humid Catholic school classroom in Barranquilla, Colombia, a 10-year-old Shakira stood nervously in front of her music teacher for a school choir audition. She had practiced for weeks, pouring her entire heart into the melody. But when she opened her mouth, her voice didn't sound like the other children. It carried a powerful, deep vibrato, a strong, mature tremble that the teacher simply did not understand. Instead of recognizing her raw talent, the teacher stopped her, shook his head, and delivered a brutal insult that would echo in her mind for the rest of her life. He told her she sang like a goat. The entire classroom erupted into laughter, teasing her relentlessly. Devastated, Shakira ran home, locked herself in her room, and cried into her pillow, ready to lock away her musical dreams forever. But that night, her father sat down next to her bed and changed the course of music history. He looked at her and said her voice wasn't broken. It sounded different because she was different, and that was her superpower. To prove it, he quietly signed her up for a local talent contest. Terrified but determined, the 10-year-old stepped onto a local stage, opened her mouth, and won first place. It was the exact moment Shakira realized that the very thing people reject you for is often the exact thing that makes you unforgettable. By 1990, the young girl who was once deemed unfit for a school choir was about to get a shock that most teenagers could only dream of. At just 13 years old, while visiting the capital city of Bogota, an executive from Sony Music saw her perform. Captivated by her raw, unusual energy, they handed her a major record deal. It felt like a fairy tale ending, but in reality, her greatest nightmare was about to begin. Shakira poured her childhood poems into her debut album, Magia, writing every single track herself. The result? Total silence. The album sold a mere 1,200 copies worldwide, a drop of water in an ocean. 2 years later, she tried again with her second album, Peligro. Once more, the public completely ignored it. At just 15 years old, Shakira was already labeled a 2-time commercial failure. Behind closed doors, the record executives began discussing dropping her contract entirely. But there was a deeper conflict brewing. The company was trying to force her into a box. They wanted her to be a manufactured, sweet pop singer with a safe, generic sound. They demanded she leave her true self behind. But Shakira refused to erase who she was. She had Arabic percussion in her blood, Colombian folk in her soul, and raw rock and roll guitars in her heart. Instead of surrendering to the label's demands, she did something incredibly risky. She walked away. She temporarily halted her music career, went back to high school to finish her studies, and even took an acting role on a Colombian television series. To the outside world, her career was dead before it even started, but she wasn't quitting. She was quietly plotting. In 1995, Sony gave her one final, desperate chance with a razor-thin budget of just $100,000, expecting her to fail. This time, Shakira seized absolute creative control. She blended all her multicultural roots into a fierce, raw album called Pies Descalzos, meaning bare feet. When the lead single Estoy Aquí hit the airwaves, it didn't just play, it exploded. The album didn't sell the minor copies the label expected. It went on to sell over 5 million copies worldwide. By refusing to sound like everyone else, she found the exact sound the entire world was starving for. By the late 1990s, Shakira had completely conquered Latin America, selling millions of albums and winning her first Grammy Awards. She was an absolute superstar in the Spanish-speaking world, but a massive, terrifying wall stood between her and true global dominance, the United States and the English-speaking market. At the time, the Latin explosion was taking over American television. Artists like Ricky Martin and Enrique Iglesias were crossing over, but they were mostly making glossy pop music with just a tiny hint of Latin flavor. Shakira wanted something entirely different. She wanted to bring her raw rock guitars, Arabic drum beats, and authentic culture to the global stage. That was when music legend Gloria Estefan looked her in the eyes and asked a simple, life-changing question. Why not try singing in English? Shakira was absolutely terrified. Writing deeply personal songs is hard enough in your native tongue, but doing it in a foreign language felt like jumping into the ocean without knowing how to swim. She was terrified Americans would mock her accent or that her poetic lyrics would sound strange. But instead of letting fear paralyze her, she treated English like a battle she had to win. She refused to let anyone else translate her thoughts. She wanted the words to feel true to her soul. So, she locked herself away and began to aggressively study. She devoured the works of great English poets like Walt Whitman, Leonard Cohen, and Bob Dylan. She spent hours looking up words in dictionaries, writing hundreds of pages of practice lyrics, and throwing them in the trash. Every single line was an agonizing struggle that took hours to perfect. In 2001, her fierce dedication paid off. She unleashed her very first English album, Laundry Service. The lead single, Whenever, Wherever, completely exploded across the planet. It shot straight to #1 in France, Germany, Italy, and Spain, and conquered the top 10 in the United States, becoming the best-selling single of the entire year. The album sold a staggering 13 million copies. The music industry realized they couldn't put her in a box. No one could copy her, because no one else had the belly-dancing rhythm of the Middle East, the fiery hips of Latin America, and the raw heart of rock and roll, all living inside one voice. She had officially broken the wall, proving that her unique sound didn't belong to just one country. It belonged to the entire world. By the late 2000s, Shakira was no longer just a pop star. She had become a global phenomenon. She had a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and was officially crowned the Queen of Latin Music, having sold more records worldwide than any other Latin artist in history. But in 2010, her career intersected with the only force on earth bigger than music, football. FIFA called her with a massive request. They wanted her to create and perform the official anthem for the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, the very first time the tournament would ever be held on the African continent. The inspiration struck her in the most unexpected way. While walking across her quiet farm in Uruguay during a holiday break, a melody suddenly dropped into her head out of nowhere. Seeking a deep, authentic rhythm, she did something brilliant. She borrowed the iconic hook from a classic African marching song called Zangalewa, a melody originally sung by Cameroonian soldiers, children, and football fans across the continent. She teamed up with the South African band Freshly Ground and created Waka Waka, this time for Africa. But before the song could conquer the world, a wave of intense backlash erupted. Many people in South Africa were furious. They openly asked a harsh but fair question. Why was a Colombian pop star chosen to represent the first ever African World Cup? Instead of hiding in a luxury hotel or fighting back through public relations teams, Shakira responded with humility and action. She flew directly into Soweto, a famous township near Johannesburg. Dropping all superstar ego, she walked into a local school wearing nothing but a basic t-shirt and jeans. She sat flat on the floor with the local children, listened to their music, asked them questions, and taught them the choreography. In return, they taught her their traditional steps. Together, they made the song real, When she finally stepped onto the stadium grass in Johannesburg before a global audience of billions, the tension dissolved into pure euphoria. The performance didn't just play, it united the entire planet. Waka Waka went on to shatter records, racking up over 4 billion views on YouTube and becoming the most streamed, highest-selling World Cup anthem in human history. But the 2010 World Cup didn't just solidify her as a football legend. On the set of that exact music video, she locked eyes with a young Spanish defender named Gerard Piqué. It was a meeting that would spark an 11-year romance, bring her 2 beautiful sons, Milan and Sasha, and eventually lead her into the darkest, most public heartbreak of her entire life. In June 2022, the beautiful life Shakira had built in Barcelona completely shattered. After 11 years together, she and Gerard Piqué announced their public separation. Within hours, aggressive paparazzi surrounded her home, and her private heartbreak became a global spectacle. But the universe wasn't done testing her. Simultaneously, the Spanish government launched a massive tax evasion case against her, threatening her with heavy prison time. In the absolute dead center of this chaos, her 85-year-old father, the very man who had defended her voice when she was 10, rushed to Spain to support her. But tragedy struck again. He suffered a severe fall inside the house, sustaining a critical brain injury that left him fighting for his life in a hospital bed. Shakira's world was entirely in ruins. Most people would have hidden from the public eye, most would have stayed quiet. But Shakira remembered who she was, the girl who answers every single tragedy with a song. In January 2023, she stepped into the studio with Argentine producer Bizarrap and unleashed a musical weapon. The song didn't hint at her pain. It named names, kept the receipts, and featured the now iconic line that echoed across the globe: "Women don't cry anymore. Women make invoices." It wasn't just a hit song. It became a global anthem for resilience, shattering YouTube and streaming records within 24 hours. She followed it up with Acrostico, a tender piano ballad written for her 2 sons, Milan and Sasha. During the live performance at the Latin Grammy Awards, her boys appeared on a massive screen behind her, singing their own verses alongside their mother. It was a staggering full-circle moment. 40 years earlier, a father had sat beside a broken little girl in Colombia, telling her she was special. Now, that same girl was standing strong, passing that exact same shield of love to her own children. By May 2026, justice finally turned in her favor. A Spanish court officially cleared her of the primary tax charges, ordering the government to return $64 million to her. And then, the ultimate crown arrived. FIFA called her for a record-breaking 4th time. At 49 years old, an age where the industry routinely pushes female artists aside, Shakira stepped onto the grandest stage in world football alongside Nigerian superstar Burna Boy to perform the anthem Die Die. Across 20 long years, from Berlin in 2006 to Johannesburg in 2010, Rio in 2014, and now the global stage of 2026, no musical artist in human history had ever achieved this level of longevity. Even more beautiful, the historic performance wasn't for vanity. It was a massive global charity drive for her Pais Descalços Foundation, raising millions to build schools for impoverished children in Colombia. The little girl who was once mocked for singing like a goat had officially used that exact same voice to build an empire of hope, outlasting every critic, surviving every heartbreak, and conquering a legendary stage that the world's greatest pop icons could only ever dream of touching.